Some family ties do not end with time, distance, or even death. In astrology, there are bonds that feel older than memory itself, invisible threads that connect us to a relative whose energy still echoes through our choices, our fears, our gifts, and even our luck. Sometimes it is the grandmother whose voice you barely remember, yet you catch yourself repeating her phrases. Sometimes it is a grandfather you never truly knew, but you carry his stubbornness, his talent, or his unfinished dream as if it were stitched into your soul. These are karmic family ties, not just emotional connections, but spiritual inheritances. Your zodiac sign often reveals which ancestral current flows most strongly through you. It can show whose fate you unconsciously repeat, whose emotional wounds you were born to heal, and whose strength became part of your nature before you even understood yourself. Many people feel this most intensely with relatives who are no longer alive. Their absence becomes a strange form of presence. They appear in dreams, in sudden signs, in habits that seem too specific to be coincidence. They can act like guardians, silently steering you away from danger, pushing you towards certain people, or awakening abilities that seem to come from nowhere. Intuition, healing hands, prophetic dreams, artistic talent, the power to survive what should have broken you. But karmic connection is not always gentle. Sometimes it means you inherit a pattern that must be stopped. A love story that ended in heartbreak. A family silence that lasted for decades. A sacrifice no one thanked them for. A fear of poverty, betrayal, abandonment, or failure that lives on through generations until someone brave enough faces it and says, "It ends with me." That is why this horoscope is not just about who loved you from beyond. It is also about which ancestor still walks beside you in spirit, and what their presence is trying to teach you. The relative named in your sign may explain why certain emotions feel ancient, why certain talents came naturally to you, and why some roads in life seem strangely familiar even when you have never walked them before. One of your relatives may still be your unseen guide, and once you recognize that bond, you may finally understand a part of yourself that always felt borrowed from another lifetime. Aries. Aries, your strongest karmic connection is most often with your grandfather on your father's side, the man whose fire, pride, and unfinished battles still live inside you. Even if he was distant, complicated, or gone before you could fully know him, his energy tends to move through you like a private engine. You may inherit from him not only courage, but a restless refusal to surrender. In many Aries lives, this ancestor appears as a protector during moments of risk. Just when you are ready to give up, something inside you rises with unusual force, as if an older warrior in your blood refuses defeat. This connection often reveals itself through repetition of fate. You may find yourself drawn to the same type of work, the same leadership role, the same conflict with authority, or the same hunger to prove your strength. Sometimes you even carry his impatience, his temper, or his inability to ask for help. But karmically, you were not born merely to repeat him, you were born to complete what he could not. Taurus, your deepest karmic connection is usually with your grandmother on your mother's side. She is the keeper of your emotional roots, the invisible hand behind your need for safety, beauty, food, warmth, and quiet loyalty. Whether she was tender and loving or burdened and silent, her imprint on your soul is powerful. Many Taurus people unconsciously inherit her endurance, the kind that does not scream, does not complain, but carries entire families through famine, grief, loss, and instability. You may not realize it, but your ability to remain standing when life grows heavy often comes from her. This bond can also give you her gifts, an instinct for comfort, an eye for aesthetics, a healing voice, patience with nature, money sense, or the ability to create peace in troubled homes. Yet karmic inheritance has two sides. You may also carry her fears: fear of scarcity, fear of change, fear of trusting life after disappointment. Sometimes Taurus repeats the pattern of staying too long in unhappy situations simply because that ancestor survived by enduring rather than transforming. Your mission is not only to preserve the family's strength, but to soften it with self-worth. You are here to prove that stability does not have to come through suffering. When you honor this grandmother's memory through recipes, family rituals, gardens, jewelry, prayer, or simply protecting what matters, your life begins to open. She becomes a guardian of your home, finances, and emotional peace. Gemini, your strongest karmic tie is often with an uncle, older brother-like relative, or a clever male ancestor who was never fully understood by the family. This is the relative whose mind ran ahead of his time, witty, restless, curious, unpredictable, perhaps brilliant but scattered. Through him, you inherit mental speed, verbal talent, humor, adaptability, and a strange ability to survive by thinking faster than everyone else. In some families, this person was charming but difficult. In others, he was the storyteller, the traveler, the messenger, the one who knew everyone's secrets and never fully belonged anywhere. You often repeat his unfinished karmic lesson, learning when words heal and when they wound, when freedom is growth and when it becomes escape. Gemini may notice that this ancestor visits through signs involving books, radio songs, letters, repeated phrases, old photographs, or sudden flashes of insight. He seems to guide your mind, especially when you must make quick decisions or communicate under pressure. You may also inherit his nervous energy, divided focus, romantic inconsistency, or tendency to hide pain behind humor. But your soul was not sent here to become a copy. You are meant to refine the gift. Cancer. Cancer, your deepest karmic connection is almost always with your mother, grandmother, or a maternal ancestor who suffered quietly for the sake of the family. This is not a light bond. It is one of the strongest in the zodiac. You often carry her emotional memory inside you like a second heartbeat. Her fears may become your instincts. Her tenderness may become your gift. Her grief may become the hidden sadness you cannot explain. Even if she has passed on, her presence around you can be overwhelming in dreams, in moods, in your sudden need to protect others, in the way you feel responsible for everyone long before they ask. This ancestor often acts as your guardian spirit. She warns you through intuition. She sends a knees before betrayal. She makes you remember what others forget. And she gifts Cancer with an almost supernatural emotional radar. But the karmic lesson here is profound. You must learn the difference between love and sacrifice. Many Cancer natives repeat the maternal fate of caring too much, forgiving too much, or building their life around the needs of others. You may inherit her devotion, but also her emotional burdens. Your task is to keep the love and release the suffering. When you do, the ancestral line heals through you. Leo. Leo. Your most powerful karmic connection is usually with your father or a proud grandfather whose presence dominated the family story. This relative was likely remembered strongly admired, feared, charismatic, difficult, talented, or impossible to ignore. His energy lives in your need to be seen, to create, to rise, and to leave something behind that cannot be forgotten. Many Leos carry the soul mark of an ancestor who wanted greatness but paid a price for pride, loneliness, or emotional distance. That is why your life often swings between confidence and a deep private fear of not being loved enough. Through this karmic bond, you may inherit leadership, artistic ability, dramatic presence, generosity, and the gift of inspiring others. You may also inherit the burden of family expectations, the pressure to shine, or the old pattern of confusing love with admiration. Sometimes this ancestor becomes your guide in moments when you must step onto a bigger stage. He pushes you not to hide, yet he also watches closely to see whether you will repeat his mistakes. Leo's lesson is not merely to become important, it is to become warm. If this ancestor used power without tenderness, you are here to unite the two. If he was admired but emotionally unreachable, you are here to become both radiant and real. Virgo. Virgo, your strongest karmic connection is often with a great-grandmother, aunt, healer, or quiet female relative who carried enormous wisdom without receiving enough recognition. She may have been the one who held the family together through details no one noticed: medicines, prayers, recipes, sewing, schedules, remedies, letters, cleanliness, care work, service. She was the silent order in the middle of chaos. And through her, you inherit your precision, your sensitivity to imbalance, your ability to notice what everyone else overlooks, and sometimes your anxious need to keep life under control. This karmic tie is deeply connected to service and healing. Many Virgos carry ancestral abilities through this woman: herbal knowledge, strong intuition around illness, healing hands, practical intelligence, spiritual cleanliness, or the ability to sense danger before it becomes visible. But you may also inherit her exhaustion, self-criticism, or the painful habit of giving more than you receive. In some cases, Virgo repeats her fate by becoming indispensable to everyone while forgetting personal joy. Libra. Libra, your strongest karmic connection is most often with your grandmother on your father's side, an elegant aunt, or a female ancestor whose life revolved around love, beauty, sacrifice, and difficult choices. This is the woman whose charm may have hidden a heavy destiny. She may have been admired by many, yet misunderstood in the moments that mattered most. In your life, she continues to live through your longing for harmony, your sensitivity to other people's moods, your refined taste, and your painful habit of trying to keep peace even when your own heart isn't settled. This ancestor often acts as a quiet guide in relationships. She sends you lessons through romance, betrayal, delayed unions, and moments when you must choose between pleasing others and honoring yourself. Many Libras repeat a family story in which a woman gave too much of herself for the appearance of peace. That is why your soul is here to change the pattern. You are not meant to become a beautiful mask over hidden pain. You are meant to create real harmony, the kind that begins with honesty. When you stop rescuing every unstable relationship and start listening to your own inner scales, this karmic bond becomes luminous. Then this relative blesses you with social luck, a magnetic aura, refined success, and the rare ability to unite people without losing yourself in the process. Scorpio, your deepest karmic connection is usually with a grandfather, great-grandmother, or one mysterious relative whose life was marked by secrets, loss, betrayal, forbidden love, or powerful transformation. This is the ancestor whose story may have been half hidden in the family, mentioned in lowered voices, wrapped in scandal, silence, tragedy, or awe. Yet it is precisely this soul who is most strongly tied to you. Through them, you inherit emotional intensity, psychological depth, powerful intuition, magnetic presence, and the ability to survive what would destroy someone else. You often carry their unfinished emotional work, old betrayals, buried grief, unresolved revenge, hidden talents, and spiritual strength sharpened by suffering. This karmic connection is never casual. It reveals itself through dreams, eerie coincidences, strange fears that do not seem fully yours, and a constant sense that you were born to uncover what others hide. Many Scorpios unconsciously repeat the fate of this ancestor by going through extreme endings and rebirths in love, family, identity, or money. You may even attract the same kind of dangerous people they once did. But your role is not to drown in the family shadow. Your role is to become the one who transforms poison into wisdom. Sagittarius, your strongest karmic tie is most often with an uncle, grandfather, godparent, or wandering relative who lived outside the family rules and followed a path of freedom, risk, travel, or belief. This is the ancestor who could never be fully contained. He or she may have left home young, crossed borders, changed faith, challenged tradition, loved adventure, or shocked relatives by refusing the life everyone expected. Through this person, you inherit your hunger for movement, your refusal to be spiritually trapped, your philosophical mind, and your strange certainty that life must hold something bigger than routine. Even when you try to live safely, part of your soul keeps listening for a distant road. This karmic bond gives Sagittarius both blessing and challenge. You may receive luck through travel, education, teaching, publishing, foreign connections, spiritual practice, or moments of wild courage. You may also inherit this ancestor's instability, their fear of commitment, their difficulty with roots, or their tendency to run from pain by moving faster. In many cases, this guide continues to work through signs connected to trains, airplanes, maps, old suitcases, foreign languages, church bells, or sudden invitations that change your path. But the deeper lesson is this: freedom is sacred only when it includes responsibility. If this ancestor escaped everything, you are meant to learn how to stay true to yourself without abandoning the people who love you. When you do, their karmic fire becomes protection. They open roads for you, rescue you from dead ends, and push you toward a bigger destiny whenever your life becomes too small for your spirit. Capricorn, your strongest karmic connection is almost always with your grandfather, father, or an older ancestor who carried the family on their shoulders and paid dearly for duty. This is the relative whose life was built around responsibility, survival, status, sacrifice, work, and endurance. They may not have been emotionally expressive, but their presence shaped the family structure itself. Through them, you inherit discipline, ambition, restraint, reliability, and the ability to continue long after others collapse. Even as a child, you may have felt older than your years, as though someone else's unfinished burden had quietly been placed into your hands. This ancestral bond can become one of the heaviest and most important in the zodiac. You may repeat this relative's pattern of suppressing tenderness, postponing joy, choosing work over rest, or measuring your worth only through achievement. Sometimes you inherit their loneliness as much as their strength. That is the karmic test. You are not here only to keep the family standing, you are here to humanize the strength you inherited. If this ancestor built security but forgot happiness, you must build both. If they became respected but emotionally unreachable, you must learn that vulnerability does not weaken legacy, it deepens it. Aquarius, your deepest karmic connection is most often with a relative who was considered strange, rebellious, visionary, emotionally detached, or simply ahead of their time. This may be an uncle, aunt, grandfather, older sibling like ancestor, or even a family member no one fully understood while they were alive. They thought differently, lived differently, loved differently, and often paid a lonely price for refusing to conform. Through them, you inherit originality, intellectual freedom, unusual talents, humanitarian instincts, and the feeling that you were never meant to live like everyone else. Very often, Aquarius senses this ancestral presence not through emotion first, but through ideas, flashes of insight, technology, symbols, synchronicity, and sudden inner knowing. This karmic tie gives you the courage to break family cycles that others are too afraid to question. But it can also make you repeat the shadow of that ancestor: emotional distance, difficulty trusting intimacy, or the belief that being understood is less important than being free. In some families, this relative was mocked, excluded, underestimated, or later recognized only after death. That story may echo in your own life. You may spend years feeling different before your gifts are finally seen. Your soul lesson is not to become less unique. Pisces, your strongest karmic connection is usually with your grandmother, great-grandmother, or a deeply spiritual relative whose heart remained open even through sorrow. This is the ancestor who loved beyond reason, prayed through pain, dreamed vividly, sensed what others could not, or carried an almost mystical softness in a harsh world. She may have been gentle, artistic, religious, lonely, intuitive, emotionally wounded, or quietly miraculous. Through her, you inherit compassion, imagination, psychic sensitivity, creativity, healing energy, and the mysterious feeling that the unseen world is very close to you. Many Pisces people carry the emotional fragrance of such an ancestor all their lives. This karmic bond is powerful because it works through the invisible. You may dream of this relative before major life changes. You may feel their presence in water, music, candles, old fabrics, prayer, moonlight, or moments of deep sadness and peace at the same time. But the inheritance is not only beautiful. You may also carry their escapism, their tendency to idealize the wrong people, their quiet suffering, or the family habit of absorbing everyone else's pain. That is what you must transform. You are not here to drown in inherited emotion. You are here to turn sensitivity into wisdom, love into boundaries, and spiritual openness into real inner strength.